Welcome back. We're talking about the most conservative appellate court in the country and its outsized role in shaping American policy and jurisprudence in the post-Trump era. I'm joined now by Ruth Marcus, associate editor and columnist for The Washington Post, and Leah Lippman, a professor at the University of Michigan, and full disclosure, my fellow co-host with the Strict Scrutiny podcast. Ruth, first question. The Fifth Circuit, despite its outsized profile, has managed to stay under the radar. Can you explain how this lower federal court has come to exert such a powerful force in shaping national policy?
Well, Melissa, thanks for having me. I thought you did a fantastic job of explaining that to everybody. And the headline that you showed from a column I wrote, I think that column was about 3 or 4 years old. And the amount of damage that the Fifth Circuit has done or attempted to do since then is quite extraordinary. And the reason that it's been able to do that is it actually is connected to forum shopping. Litigants can choose in a lot of cases where to bring their claims. They know the Fifth Circuit is the most conservative court in the country. They will find a way to do that. And what happens in the Fifth Circuit doesn't stay in the Fifth Circuit necessarily with the rise of nationwide injunctions. And so you see questions like mifepristone, the abortion case that was decided, abortion medication case that was decided last week, going to the Fifth Circuit, going to Judge Kaczmarek's court in a lot of cases, going up through conservative panels at the Fifth Circuit and getting to the Supreme Court. And one thing to say about the Fifth Circuit, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit filibustering here, but I really want to say this. It's actually a win-win for the Supreme Court. It makes it either makes the Supreme Court look good because the Supreme Court is slapping it down. Last year, I think the Fifth Circuit's record at the Supreme Court was 2 for 9. That's pretty pathetic. Or it gets to agree with the Fifth Circuit as it did in the bump stock case last week. So the Fifth Circuit is kind of good news for the Supreme Court.
Leah, I want to probe that thought. There is, as Ruth suggests, an almost symbiotic relationship between the High Court and the Fifth Circuit. This term, October term 2024, a high number of cases on the court's docket come from the Fifth Circuit. What's the interaction between this court, which recently affirmed one Fifth Circuit decision, but also reversed on another?
So the Fifth Circuit generates a lot of the Supreme Court's docket because the Fifth Circuit is kind of the petri dish for whatever the latest unhinged theory is among the conservative legal movement. They're the court that said states could challenge the Indian Child Welfare Act. The Supreme Court reversed that decision. They're the court that attempted to invalidate the entire funding structure of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Supreme Court reversed that decision. They're the court that said we can actually slap on some additional restrictions on mifepristone that the FDA deemed medically unwarranted. The Supreme Court reversed that decision, and the list goes on and on. But I think it's no accident that President Trump's reported shortlist for the next Supreme Court appointment includes many Fifth Circuit judges. So when you think about, President Trump potentially being able to replace Justices Thomas or Alito, I mean, Justice Thomas authored the opinion that upheld the CFPB, and Justice Alito joined the opinion that said, no, actually, the doctors didn't have standing in the medication abortion case. And so you could have the next Republican president replacing Supreme Court justices with people who are even further to the right and way more willing to engage with whatever the latest fringe theory is.
Right. So, Leah, it could be the case that the Fifth Circuit is both a petri dish and a farm team for the High Court. And we know that Jim Ho is basically auditioning for Clarence Thomas's seat on the court if there's a second Trump presidency. But it also seems like you're saying that when the court pulls back from the Fifth Circuit, when it reverses the Fifth Circuit, it actually makes the court look more moderate. It's not that extreme, but our jurisprudence still seems to be drifting rightward. Can you say more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So when the Supreme Court reversed, for example, the decision invalidating the CFPB or the decision saying that doctors could challenge the availability of medication abortion, the Supreme Court just reaffirmed kind of basic no-nonsense legal principles that, again, should never have been up for question in the first place. It is an embarrassment that the Court of Appeals suggested doctors who do not prescribe mifepristone, some of whom were dentists, could actually pull away that drug from other people who use the drug. And so, yes, when the Supreme Court reverses whatever the latest outlandish decision of the Fifth Circuit is, it generates all of these commentators who say, oh, the Supreme Court isn't corrupt, even though, of course, we've learned more about Justice Thomas's unreported trips on Harlan Crow's private jet, or the Supreme Court isn't actually so extreme, even though the court is probably poised in the next 2 weeks to say that states can prohibit abortions that are necessary to save a woman's health or bodily organs or bodily function. That is not a moderate court.
So, Ruth, you mentioned the Judicial Conference. They recently introduced a non-binding policy to randomize judge assignments to address the problem of forum shopping. This seems like a pretty sensible policy. Why is it facing such strong pushback from Republican lawmakers and conservative judges? And what more needs to be done to ensure that the courts aren't manipulated in this way?
It's fascinating because judges seem very upset, courts seem very upset, conservatives seem very upset when there is forum shopping on the other side. There's been an investigation into alleged forum shopping by lawyers for in a gay rights related case. That's quite fascinating. I think the argument they're upset because it interferes with their ability to get the predictable results they wanted. They have managed, especially in the Amarillo district, to rig the system. We hear the word rigged all the time, but this is a system that is actually rigged. The response you get from conservatives is, look, liberal groups forum shop all the time. And that is true. People do go to welcoming venues where they think they have a better shot at getting sympathetic judges. You can file your case in California, where the federal judiciary is much more liberal than it is in, say, Alabama. But going to a sympathetic venue is different from the rigged system that we have here now. And that's where the real problem is.
So, Leah, the problem of forum shopping really depends on the fact of a welcoming or receptive bench. And we know that perhaps the most successful item on the Trump administration's domestic agenda from 2016 to 2020 was the appointment of federal judges. Can you say a little bit more about how the Trump administration led directly to not only the Supreme Court that we have, but also the Fifth Circuit that we have right now?
Yes. So during the Trump administration, he appointed many of the judges who have become kind of the all-stars of the Fifth Circuit. When you think about Judge Kaczmarek was appointed by the Trump administration, but so too were many of the judges in the majority on the medication abortion case. Judge Ho wrote separately to suggest that doctors had standing in order to yank medication abortion off the market because they experienced some sort of aesthetic joy by delivering babies. You had Judge Oldham in the majority. He's another possibility for the next Supreme Court appointment in a Republican administration. And what they did is they set up a system where there are what's called single judge districts. So unlike in California, you can't file in a particular district in California and know you're going to get any particular judge, whereas you can do that in Texas. Additionally, the Republican judges on the Fifth Circuit, if you think about where they are on the right versus where, let's say, some California district judges are on the left, the Fifth Circuit is out there on Pluto. They're not even on a planet. Whereas the district judges in California, they're in California. They're at least still in the country, on the spectrum of views that a majority of Americans have.
All right. Well, Ruth Marcus and Leah Lippman, let's stay in this country, not be on Pluto. Thank you both for those insights.